What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. So, what Russian President Vladimir Putin is doing now is not only going to cost Americans billions of dollars, but it's going to cost, well, people all around the world trillions of dollars potentially. But it's also going to cost a lot of people a lot more than that. It's going to cost possibly people their lives, people that are starving. It's going to be a serious, serious thing. Take a look at this. Yeah, wheat prices soar for a third day in a row as Russia Ukraine tensions stoke fears of a major food crisis. Wheat prices rose for a third day here on Thursday as Russia threatened to treat ships heading for Ukrainian ports as military cargo. Comes shortly after the Kremlin pulled out of the Black Sea grain deal, a critically important wartime deal that prevents Ukraine from shipping out their wheat and their grain, which is one of the largest exporters of wheat for the entire world, if not the largest. Russia and Ukraine combined are the largest exporters of wheat, and this has already sent the price of wheat and grain prices soaring here just within a matter of days. And if Russia doesn't renew this deal, basically to let Ukraine ship out this wheat to the rest of the world, we will continue to see prices soaring. They've already done this here in just a few days. Prices could skyrocket even more. And this is a big deal for the United States, for the whole world, especially for famine driven countries, food insecure countries, countries that are really low on the totem pole where it comes to, food insecurity, poverty driven countries, and for how long this could go. And really, this is all in that matter of one person's hand, Vladimir Putin. Take a listen here.
So, the international community is condemning Russia's decision to pull out of the Black Sea grain deal. Moscow saying it will only return to the deal if its demands are met. What are some possible solutions to this problem? How can Ukraine export its grain without Russia's participation? What are some options?
So there are essentially two options. One is to ship the grain through into Romania and out through ports from there. The difficulty there is that there's not enough rolling stock to get the wheat to the Romanian ports, which are being expanded as we speak. And then the second is to ship the wheat through southeastern Europe and then into the Mediterranean ports. Again, that's actually very costly and time consuming. So neither option is particularly ideal. The best option is to get Russia to relent on its decision to withdraw from this agreement.
One possible way that could happen, we know, of course, that China has come to rely on Ukraine's grain supplies, as well as many other nations, of course. So how likely is it that Beijing will eventually pressure President Putin to get this grain shipment deal back on track because of its own needs? And of course, it has the leverage, doesn't it?
So China received about 8 million tons of wheat under this particular deal, a quarter of the total. And also China is having quite serious storms and droughts this year. And if those droughts turn out to be as significant as people highlight, then maybe Beijing will be moved to put leverage onto Russia to relent on this. But I think there's a series of ifs there. It's not clear yet if Beijing is particularly worried about its own food security needs. Please remember, China is the biggest producer of wheat in the world, and so it really needs this. It needs a lot of wheat, but it's unclear yet whether or not it's desperate enough to put leverage on China and whether or not it wants to be seen to be doing so.
Now, in addition to this, Russia has been attacking the city of Odessa in Ukraine for 3 nights in a row now, with some serious attacks during the night with drones and missiles, just attacking anything in the city, not military targets specifically, anything. In addition to this, they actually hit and damaged the Chinese consulate in Odessa, Ukraine. Quote, this suggests that the enemy, Russia, does not pay attention to anything, said the head of Odessa Regional Military Administrator said, as Russia airstrike damages the Chinese consulate in Odessa. Yeah. Quote, as a result of the Russian night attack, the building of the Consulate General of the People's Republic of China in Odessa was damaged, Kuiper said on the messaging app. The aggressor was deliberately hits the port infrastructure, administrative and residential buildings nearby, as well as the consulate of the People's Republic of China were damaged. This suggests the enemy does not pay attention to anything. Overnight, Russia launched 38 missiles and drones, with air defense shooting down 18 of them, reported Reuters. The strike also killed at least 3 civilians and hurt at least 8 others. Beijing did not immediately comment on the incident, according to Reuters. Here, take a listen and see what happened.
We have breaking news out of Ukraine as Russia is bombarding the southern port city of Odessa for the third night in a row. You can see this extraordinary video just in from CNN's team. It shows Ukraine's air defense working to repel these Russian attacks. CNN's Alex Marquardt joins me live from Odessa. Alex, what have you been seeing on the ground as this is the third night in a row that we know this has happened? And is there a sense of what kind of weaponry that Russia is using here?
This was a city that was already on edge after 2 nights of extraordinarily intense, ferocious attacks by Russia. This city wondering whether it would happen for a third night in a row. That answer coming just before 2 a.m. with an attack that lasted around an hour and 45 minutes, arguably the most intense yet in terms of the weaponry that we saw on display tonight. It did start the same way that the last 2 nights have, with air raid sirens warning citizens of this city that an attack was coming. Then we started to see those red tracer rounds from the air defenses firing up into the sky, lighting up the night sky, looking for drones to take down. There were spotlights that were searching for drones. We saw interceptor rockets taking off with and presumably hitting things, because there were huge explosions in the sky that cast this huge glow all across this city that eventually went dark, all of the lights being turned off, presumably for security reasons. But the reason that this does appear to have been more intense tonight was because of the variety of cruise missiles, at least 3 different kinds of cruise missiles Russia used, including the much feared Kinzhal missile, which has a warhead of 1 ton. We know that Russia sent up at least 8 long-range supersonic strategic bombers to fire these cruise missiles. And then very notably, we know that in all of these attacks, drones were used, but this was the first time that we heard these drones so close. They sound like huge mosquitoes flying very close to the buildings. What the targets were, what the damage was, that we don't know. The sun is just coming up, but I think it is fair to say that these last 3 nights have represented the most serious, most intense attacks on Odessa since this war began last year.
Yeah, so as you can see there, pretty serious situation. They're literally just, from what it looks like, firing missiles and drone attacks at, from what it looks like, just random targets as they attack the Chinese consulate. You guys can let me know your thoughts here on this, but I'm sure the Chinese aren't very happy about that. Yeah, so we'll have to see if there's any response on that. And really just goes to show, and that's why when you see these pictures and these videos of apartment buildings hit, hospitals hit, schools hit, it really seems that they're just firing, and whatever is hit is hit. I mean, yeah, sure, maybe sometimes they're firing at strategic things like ports or military targets, but a lot of times it seems like, hey, let's just fire at the city, and whoever is in the way is in the way. Yeah. So honestly, it seems like Russia just doesn't care. They're just trying to inflict as much damage on Ukraine as possible. And it seems like this is going to go on for quite some time. And now they're not letting the grain go out, which is going to cost the world the billions or trillions of dollars as wheat prices are now soaring and could be no end in sight. They could make a deal next week. It could be a month. It could be a year. Who knows how long until this wheat starts to go out and prices are soaring now. So I'll keep you up to date here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you haven't yet, click the subscribe button down below and the bell icon so you don't miss out on any new videos. It's completely free to do so. I'll keep you up to date here. Also, thanks for liking and sharing these videos. Click here to see how Congress is trying to fix Social Security and Medicare, or North Korea just fired missiles, and click here to see how the US is responding. Click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next video.